Hey guys, it's your man KP67s, and today's video will be a continuance of the First Order. As you can see, in today's video, we're going to be going over the man himself, General Hux. So Hux brings a new leadership to the First Order, which massively increases their damage and has manipulation tactics that honestly rival the abilities of Thrawn himself, albeit sadly not as plug and play as Thrawn, however. But that aside, I hope everyone enjoys this video and the information it provides, so let's get into it and discuss Hux's stats first and what kind of character he is designed as. So looking at Hux's base stats, sadly, as you can see, he's not fully relicked. He's only R6. I know, KP, how could you, dark side, bro? But these materials aren't easy to come by. But I promise he'll get there. That's how much I like him. We can see that based on the relics he has, Hux is a tactical support character, which means that he gets mastery bumps in accuracy, critical avoidance, and damage. To be honest, it's not the best spread of mastery stats. The damage bump is nice, but it's not really what Hux is there for. And critical avoidance is also helpful, but in a world where advantage exists and always critically hit or can't be critically hit exists, it's not really that big of a game changer to me. His other traits, such as you look at his strength growth and his tactics growth, mostly boost his survivability via his health and his damage output as well. But there's actually a noticeable drawback here, is that he gets a lot of physical critical chance, but Hux's basic is special damage, which relies on his horribly low critical chance. It sits at roughly 15% when he's completely maxed out. Super low. So while his relics are boosting his physical crit chance, his special crit chance is completely untouched. And then finally, the only other point to make is that Hux is a fast character. He's only a few points slower than the First Order officer at base, which will be important for how we choose to build him. Now we're going to go ahead and move into his kit. So going over his kit, let's see what kind of mechanics are in play. So his basic commanding shot deals special damage and gives Hux 25% turn meter, allowing him to get to his next turn faster. If this basic is a critical hit, he gains advantage if he didn't already have it before. Now, advantage is very important for Hux to try to maintain, so ensuring this critically hits when he has to goes a long way in keeping his other benefits up. And like I said, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we're going to work it out. So looking at his first special here, Oppressive Fire, this also grants Hux additional turn meter, 10% in this case, and he calls all First Order allies to assist, dealing 25% more damage. In addition, if he had advantage, he loses it, and at the same time removes all buffs off of all of his enemies. So in conjunction with Hux's leadership, this can make for very impressive damage numbers for all of Hux's allies, and they can easily top 200,000 damage in total damage, which destroys almost everything but the most burly tanks, basically. It's an awesome sight, especially when it's a target that nobody really likes to leave sitting around, like certain coughing lightsaber-wielding droids, as you can see. Hux's next special, Devious Scheme here, cleanses Hux and the First Order ally he chooses, granting them a bonus turn. If he had advantage in this case, he also resets the cooldown of that ally. This is extremely powerful, especially if the First Order officer is present, as it's rather fun to reset Foo's cooldowns, then pass turn meter to a big hitter with offense up and advantage to do bigger damage, basically. So Fox and Fawcett really benefit from manipulating both Foo and Hux. It's important to note that this isn't a TM filling move, but a true bonus turn effect. So TM stopping mechanics such as, say, a mirror enemy Hux won't actually stop this from occurring, whereas a move such as Foo's marching orders can be prevented in filling turn meter. So next up, we have Hux's leadership bow to the First Order. While it's pretty straightforward, it's extremely powerful and makes up for the First Order's biggest issue that they had previous to him and Fawcett being released, being that they just didn't have DPS. Hux increases all basic attacks to deal 50% more damage, in addition to generating dominance on himself if all of his allies are First Order. This can only be dispelled if he's critically hit, but every time Hux takes a turn, it comes back. So dominance itself not only prevents enemies from countering, it also gives all First Order allies a 100% counter chance and deal 50% more critical damage. Yikes, that is a massive amount of damage coming out of all characters on the field, even from really weak hitters like Fu and Crew, let alone damage monsters like Fox and Fawcett. To see them counter something to death and crit at the same time is really a sight to behold as you tear your opponent limb from limb. It really is a lot of fun to watch. And finally, we get to Hux's unique, which is a point of consternation in the community when CG nerfed it to restrict it to only the First Order. So, Boundless Ambition grants Hux advantage for 2 turns at the start of each encounter, and if all allies are First Order, the enemies cannot gain bonus turn meter while Hux has advantage. It's very simple, very straightforward, but this carries massive ramifications for TM-based squads like JTR Emperor Palpatine without a quick way to dispel Hux or defeat him. It is also why it is extremely important that Hux have good critical chance, special critical chance, I'm emphasizing again, or there's another source of advantage spamming as you want advantage over Hux to stop characters like Rex, like B2, like any TM gainer from gaining or granting bonus turn meter. So finishing up with Boundless Ambition, we move into the trickier stuff, which would be his modding. So for Hux's modding, I personally felt that given his high base tenacity, he naturally sits at like 103, 104 here, as you can see. There's not really need to push that up too much. You can if you like, but I didn't choose to go that route. From Hux's kit, the big points that you really need to take away here are that speed is very important to take advantage of his turn meter he gives himself, and a high special critical chance to ensure that he can regain advantage from his basic if it's needed. Since his crit chance is so low, there's a lot of emphasis on critical chance in the modding, but even with my modding, maybe it's just I need better crit chance mods, but he's sitting at just a shade under 62% critical chance. So this is coming from, a CC set, a CC primary, multiple crit chance secondaries, but this is why I think Crew is really important to have in the squad is, whenever he takes damage, he spreads advantage, and this will help kind of shore up this little weakness in Hux. So overall, as you can see here, I went with a speed set and a crit chance set, specifically looking at both health and protection for his circle and his cross, a crit chance primary giving him 20% additional critical chance on the triangle, and of course speed on the arrow. And when you actually look at other secondaries, the big ones you need are speed and critical chance in my opinion. You can have extra health and protection or tenacity as a bonus for survivability and ensuring that you can't debuff Hux or prevent him from doing what he needs to do. And overall, I think it's a pretty straightforward way to mod him, and it lets him do a whole bunch of things, guys. So that's where modding my head is at specifically. So let's move into the next final assessment. So finally, when we look at Hux from an overall use, honestly guys, he makes the First Order the powerhouse that they are now, both in squads and in fleets with the release of his capital ship, the Finalizer. Now, I'm not going to discuss the Finalizer in this video, it will get its own video, but suffice to say, it is awesome. While Hux has a lot of benefits for the First Order, his biggest drawback is the same thing. He only works for the First Order squad. You can't plug and play him, you can't take advantage of his mechanics elsewhere. After CG changed his unique, people were simply slotting him into a DR squad or some other squad to easily trample General Skywalker teams. CG did their take back, quote unquote, and restricted Hux to the First Order. But even with this, Hux is still very fun to use to manipulate his allies to do his bidding and bring big damage. Most sub-meta squads and a few meta squads that are commonly seen in GAC and TW are easily taken care of by Hux lead, and Hux also brings a very fast way to score high in the Sith raid if you have a little time to kill before you have to do the big Shock T clones team in that P2 to P3 bit bridge and attempt to solo all the way to like the end of P4. His team literally you target Scion, you hit auto, just let it go for 2 to 3 minutes. You'll make like 13, 14 million just without doing anything. It really can't get better than that, to be honest. So great PvE, great PvP usage. Overall, a very solid addition to the First Order, and he honestly is, if not already has been, a staple in the First Order PvP squad with everything he brings to the table, both for himself and for his allies. Well guys, this wraps up the review for Hux, and like I said, I really feel like he is more of a faction-restricted but upgraded version of Thrawn himself. If you guys have any additional thoughts or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. If you liked the video, leave a like and tell others about the videos to share this among the community. And remember folks, play the game how you want to play it. Have a good day.